Bidstack empowers brands to place advertising into spaces that sit naturally within video games. Whether it be a trackside hoarding in a racing simulation, a pitchside billboard in a football game, or a poster within an open world, our technology enables brands to programmatically buy brand-safe advertising spaces within virtual landscapes. Bidstack's proprietary technology works cross-platform, enabling native in-game advertising to be deployed across mobile, PC, console, and cloud gaming. Until now, billboard spaces within gaming environments were hard-coded, meaning regardless of who you are or where you are sat in the world, everyone saw the same ads. With Bidstack's lightweight SDK, those advertising spaces become dynamic, meaning that people can be in the same game at the same time but see different targeted advertising. Once our technology is within the game, our game developer partners have full control through our ad console to accept or decline any advertisement. Comprehensive reporting is also available for both game developers and advertisers, allowing them to track, report, and forecast in real time. Media planners can utilize their existing media buying software and their favored DSPs to target set age groups, locations, or use game-specific data to push the right content at the right time. Advertisers can run campaigns within selected titles, targeting a demographic profile within games that are the most appropriate for their campaign. Bidstack operates as the media owner, securing multi-year exclusive deals from the world's largest gaming franchises and best indie developers, making the Bidstack network the only place to buy. This is Bidstack, and the future of in-game advertising is finally here.
We've heard so much about audience, and I think it's going to be such a common theme throughout all of these upfronts, but there still is this stereotyping that's happening around gamers, and it's not always helpful, I guess, Adam, to try and label someone as a gamer. Perhaps there's different, better ways of doing it.
I believe so. I think there's this stereotype of the gamer which is pretty outdated, that a lot of brands still arguably have within their heads. We prefer to think of this kind of segment as digital natives, and that they are people who love interacting with environments, and they've only ever known interactive environments as they've kind of grown up. So they're far more, in terms of their behaviour, they're digital natives rather than just gamers. They've got a host of other interests as well. Not just gaming, they're into sport, they're into music, they're into fashion. And we're seeing that on Twitch. We're seeing a host of different brands realise actually that this audience aren't just a gaming audience, they're a digital native audience. They want to interact with the content. So we've seen, even last week, we had the likes of Burberry on Twitch, which is a brand you just wouldn't think would kind of just fit in with a gaming audience, but they're not seeing it as a gaming audience.
It's the luxury thing is fascinating, actually, and I've been, maybe it's my own biasing, but I've been surprised by the number of luxury brands that you see in games.
Yeah, it's really taken off. You've seen not just kind of Burberry on Twitch, Louis Vuitton have been in League of Legends, Porsche launched a car on Twitch. I think the reason for it is that a lot of these forward-thinking, innovative brands are beginning to realise that actually, firstly, you've got to look at the future consumer, and you've got to pay attention to this consumer very carefully and kind of build them up from now. And also that you can have a different persona in the digital space to the physical space, while still maintaining kind of that premium and luxury persona.
Julia, within Group M, you've got a whole plethora of auto brands. The same, I guess, is for autos, perhaps, in that perhaps some of these consumers aren't of age where they can buy a car, but I think autos in particular recognise that they are going to be a future consumer, so are in the right place. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. So it actually surprised me that a lot of our auto brands have acknowledged the fact that gaming is an opportunity for them to connect with their future customer, right? So the younger audience isn't really particularly looking to buy a car at the moment because they don't have the budget for it. They probably don't need it at this moment. But at one point of life, they probably need to buy a car. And when they're at that consideration phase, they really think of their experience with brands. And if your auto brand is in that particular game where they had such a joyful moment with that brand, they're really starting to build relationships for the future, and they're really starting to work on that brand love. So yeah,
We should stay on autos with McLaren, of course. Leeston, typically in the sort of the real McLaren world, sponsorships and things like that are brilliant for doing a great awareness job, great consideration. Has that translated into the esports side of things as well?
It's 100% translated into the esports side of things. I think that over the last sort of 6 to 9 months, we've had so many more brands talking to us because they can see this future consumer. And I think for us, they see McLaren, what we're doing in esports, is actually quite a good test bed because they're not too sure about some of the fantasy or shooting titles and whether they're brand safe. And I think it's an easy journey on the sports side, and you can see the guys with the wheels and it looks so close to the real thing. So we're definitely seeing a lot of the benefits of that at the moment, which is exciting for sure.
You're doing loads of stuff. You literally have training camps for drivers. I mean, it's as real as it can get, isn't it?
I mean, one of the things which is pretty mind-blowing, the F1 2020 game, you can get more data out of that than you can get out of the real car. So we've got teams of data analysts when we go and compete in something like F1 Esports who are looking at lap after lap after lap to try and get those extra tenths. So we're taking it really seriously on that side. And I think it's interesting for the fans to see how much people are putting into it as well.
You're an ad guy in a former life.
Yeah.
And I was a mobile guy in a former life, and I went through that whole cycle of mobile in its very early days where you're slightly getting patted on the back as you left the room and a bit of a test here and there, the idea that people would start to buy things and transact on their phones. You would have had the same with things like viral videos, you know, make me a viral video, make me an app. Do you feel like gaming is in that sort of place now?
Definitely. We have brands coming to us and they're kind of saying, we need an esports strategy and we need it really, really quickly. And we're sort of saying, wait a minute, let's think about what your objectives are and what you can, add to the community, because it is a community and it's a community that really praises brands who can do things that are authentic. So I think it's exciting to see, and I think for brands who can actually think about what they're going to give that community, there's massive rewards that can be had.
And there's probably no esports strategy in the same way you don't need a viral video strategy. You need a strategy with an esports element. Lewis, we're obviously sat slightly distant than what we would be usually. We've got some people joining us virtually. We would be remiss of us if we didn't talk about the fact that we've been sat at home, probably doing a lot of gaming in the last 6 months. Talk to us about gaming during COVID and some of the behaviours you guys have seen.
Well, I think what we've seen is a lot of brands have had to press the pause button, in all honesty, during COVID, and they ripped up their media plans and said, actually, I need to figure out a different tactic. Outdoor advertising was under stress, obviously, cinema, things like that. So they needed to force themselves to readdress how they're going to hit their audience. I think gaming was, around the edges of, yes, we want to test this and we want to dip our toes in, but I think it's brought it to the forefront of their mind that they really do now need to take it seriously as a channel, because there was so much press about the uptick in the consumer, like playing games a lot more. I know that Global Web Index brought out a survey during COVID, and they found that it increased at least 24% among every audience, and it rose to 50% among millennials and Gen Z. So, and it found that trend is just going to continue. It's not like a flash in the pan habit. It's going to continue. So brands really needed to follow that trend, and I think there's a big advantage that we're going to see, back end of this year, next year, that where brands are now going to invest more in it and figure out what they can do in gaming.
Adam, talk to us about Twitch under lockdown. I mean, already you were seeing, before lockdown, you were seeing some enormous figures, and not obviously just in gaming, but people with concerts and gigs and all this sort of stuff. But how has lockdown been for Twitch?
It's really accelerated the interest in Twitch and gaming as well. I think what's happened is that we're social beings, and we want social interactions, and and things like community social interactions that we used to, cinema, go to football matches, go to gigs, they'd be taken away from us, and we really need those, and we've been looking for those in digital environments, like Twitch, which is a community-based kind of live platform where you can enjoy that kind of community experience, but also gaming. Games like Fortnite and Valorant and Fall Guys are all these kind of amazing experiences where you can come together in as a community in live environments and have that social connection. Previously, which was thought of as antisocial, but actually people are beginning to, it's normalising it as another way that you can maintain those things that we need as humans.
Julia, come back to this point we were talking about with Leeston. Where does it sit in terms of agency land, and is there lots and lots of appetite for this, or are you still going into rooms as this innovation gaming person having to do that big kind of education piece?
Well, it really depends. I think it literally has spiked interest of our advertisers, right? So we're really trying to assess how conscious they are of the gaming ecosystem and how well they actually know where to place their own brands, because they all know that gaming has been growing over the past months. They know we have debunked myths. We know there's female out there gaming. We know we can measure everything. We know that it's a brand safe environment. Advertisers are aware that gamers are okay with being exposed to an ad as long as if it's executed the right way, right? So it's our job to educate them and make them aware of where to place their brand in the gaming ecosystem. So if you place it on a funnel and you have the top layer of the funnel, that's literally where you place mobile gaming and the casual games. 70% of the gaming population sits there. The audience is heavily skewed towards female. 2/3 of moms are actually active in gaming, and that's really interesting because they have a lot of decision power, which makes it very appealing to brands, and it's really a reach play in that top tier of the funnel. And when you move a little bit more down, you typically see the native ads in game, and that's where 40 to 50% of the gamers sit. They're more engaged with the gaming culture, and that's for brands where you can typically create awareness, where you can create brand affinity, and where you can really stay top of mind. Moving a little bit more down, and you actually see people streaming themselves or watch streams, and when you arrive at that little corner at the bottom, 5 to 10% of the gamers sit there and really identify themselves with gaming, and it's really important that we address all of these audiences differently. But by creating a funnel, it makes it more digestible for our advertisers to understand where they can entry in the gaming ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about luxury brands a minute ago, Adam, but not all brands are equal in this space, are they? Some have got the right to play, others may struggle a little bit. Are the ones that came in early, that sort of put the legwork in over sort of 2-3 years before we've now got this boom, is it really starting to pay off for some of those brands?
I think so. I think you only have to look at a brand such as Wendy's, for example, the kind of burger chain, who they've been in gaming and supporting games and supporting streamers and supporting communities, and that's a big thing within the gaming kind of ecosystem, is that support. And by being in there for that length of time and doing the right things in that space, it gave them the right to now appear in Fortnite and kind of destroy freezers and win a can of iron, and have kind of their character in Animal Crossing, and just kind of, and gamers accept that because they have earned their right to play in that space.
We were talking about Wendy's and stuff they've done smashing up freezers. Anything you've seen that sort of caught your eye? We're a bit shy about talking about brilliant work in digital. Telly and cinema and outdoor do brilliantly. We're a bit shy. But now we're not going to be shy. We're going to talk about brilliant things. What's caught your eye?
Okay, brilliant ones. Well, it's interesting that, again, another burger brand in Burger King and what they've done recently, which I'm assuming some of us have seen now because it's going around social media. But what I really like about their most recent sort of campaign that we're talking about, they've sponsored Stevenage. They've got the Burger King brand on that shirt. They're in FIFA 2021. They're supporting goals. They're supporting people winning the Champions League. And they've gone into FIFA 21. They know that it's all about that sort of gaming and sporting culture. And actually, they've integrated themselves in a way which those fans can really, really enjoy. And I think what's also really exciting about that is they've played a long game there. They had to sponsor Stevenage a year or so out to get into that game. So they've really thought about the best way for them to enter. So that's what makes that a really enjoyable piece of content.
Yeah, I mean, another brand association that really caught my eye was Gucci and with Fnatic, where
another luxury brand.
They collaborated on bringing out that, a branded watch that was branded Fnatic, and it sold out pretty much instantly. Yeah. So it just goes to show that, gaming consumers, are not that stereotype. They do have money. They are just general consumers like you and me and everybody else around.
And is there that slightly unattainable thing, Adam, where, you know, I might not be able to afford the thousands of pounds Gucci t-shirt, whatever it might be, but a sort of a virtual one that I could pay a few pounds for and still, you know, put that on an avatar or a character, you know, that is attainable suddenly to me. I don't need to be able to afford the thousands of pounds thing.
Yeah, it's there's a blurring, especially for this generation, between the offline and online lives, and their kind of digital personas are part of who they are. So by brands, kind of luxury brands, are getting into this space and realising that actually kind of digital goods kind of hold a significant value to this audience, and that they can keep the premium nature by means of scarcity and other things like that, is a really interesting kind of future economy, I guess, for a host of brands to be thinking about kind of deeper level associations in gaming.
Another brand that I would tell people to go and have a look at if they're thinking about joining esports would be 100 Thieves. So what they've built is a brand which essentially, it sits in esports, it sits in lifestyle, it sits in fashion. They're sponsored by Cash App, and Cash App have essentially built them a training space and a content house. And I think we're going to see more and more of that. It's very similar to kind of like the TikTok house. It's just looking at getting its fingers in different pies in all of those interests that the gamers have, as opposed to, right, I'm just going to play games. No, we know that gamers like Travis Scott and burgers and all of these other things. It's like, let's actually talk to them about some of those things as well, as opposed to just buy this skin, etc.
Some fantastic burger chase, burgers and luxury. This is what it seems to be. Julie, just come back to the sort of the agency and advertisers things that you talk to. How do you prove to them that it works?
Well, actually, the first question I ask is if they are aware of that, if they start with gaming, that they're entering the gaming experience, right? So whenever they want to start a campaign into gaming, they should really be aware that it's not about the brand, but it's to add to the experience of the gamer. And it's really to make sure that they participate in the game, but they will not take over of the game. So there's a couple of things they really have to have clear in mind. What is the objective they want to achieve, and what is the audience they want to reach? Because for each subset of gaming, that can be different. So how we approach it is that we make sure that our advertisers are aware that we have a network of gaming publishers we work with, so they can advertise on brand safe inventory, that they can measure the outcomes they want to achieve, and that they can conduct brand lift studies to achieve ad measurement effectiveness. And that's very important, but also what message do they want to bring across in that advertisement, right? It depends in what environment you're playing. If you have a native ad, you really want to make sure that you have a very simple message that's blended into the game. You don't want to take away from the experience of the gamer. You really want to add value. So an advertiser and agency should really consider that if you place an ad in a billboard, does that add reality to the experience? Does it make it more believable?
We're on to quickfire round. Upfront obviously is all about what we're getting excited about next year. I'll start with you, Adam. What's the thing in 2021 that you're most excited about in gaming?
I think 2021 is going to be the biggest year ever in gaming, principally driven by the console wars. We've got PlayStation 5 coming out, the new Xbox, the recent announcement by Xbox of kind of acquisition of the Bethesda. It's going to be huge.
Julia.
In terms of measurement, I'm really looking forward what will happen with the secondary audiences, right? So what happens that if you've been served an ad while you're playing a game, and what happens if someone is streaming that actual gameplay? What does it do to the brand exposure? What kind of halo effect will it have?
That's a brilliant answer so far.
Yeah.
Leeston, what about you? 2021?
Well, unfortunately, Adam stole my answer. He must have got that from me. But the console wars are going to be extremely exciting. Yeah. So on that Xbox versus PS5, we've got a new Gran Turismo game, a new Forza game. And I think that people are going to be talking about the blockbuster games coming out the same way they used to talk about, have you seen that new film?
Yeah. And they feel more like film releases now. They're very cinematic.
Exactly.
Incredible. The final word, Lewis, is with you. What's exciting you for 2021?
Well, I think over the last couple of years we've seen mobile, the streaming services, esports teams really start to scale, and you've got a lot of brands wanting to have affinity with those different channels. I think next year, in technology that we've developed, it's going to start to enable brands to actually get into the games themselves in a much more easy access way. So I think that's going to start to build a category within gaming that sits alongside those different channels that we've come to expect with gaming today. So that's going to be really exciting to see that develop out.
And Bidstack's still very much in startup mode.
Yeah.
So 2021 is going to be sort of even more exciting than what it's been already.
Yeah, we should just start to see publishers and games start to look at ways to monetize the games with ads, as long as they don't break immersion, as long as it adds to the realism of the game. So, and equally, brands are going to see that opportunity to get in front of that audience in a really smart way.
Nice. And that was 20 minutes is never enough for these things, but all that's left for me to say is to thank our panelists. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.